So on the last video, I explained how to use Cornell Notes, which is a really great study tool in order to help you self-quiz, right? And this video, I want to talk to you that you can do the same with other methods. Like, for example, you can have just a list of words that you're supposed to know. Maybe that those are the words, same words that show up in the left column of your Cornell notes in a separate sheet of paper. And then in some other place, you just have notes, like not necessarily in Cornell format, um, that you used as your answer key. And then you would still go through the same process. You would check off the words by doing, the negative sign, plus sign, check mark system that I explained in the last video. But except instead of flipping the paper back and forth or uh, or doing what I showed you on a computer to check your answers, you would actually just have a separate sheet of paper that has all the questions and another sheet of paper that has all the answers. So you can do this to study a list of key terms, to study using a study guide that has a bunch of questions, so long as you put the answers in another piece of paper, right? And then you can see, can I get all these questions right? So these are a lot of ways to do that. Another really cool way to do that, though, is using flashcards. Now, I haven't actually made flashcards for this. What I have here is of some postcards that the school sent me. So we're going to pretend they're flashcards. Now, the front side is where you would put the key term, all right, the word that you're supposed to know. And then on the back side, you can split that in half, just like this postcard is split in half. And then in one side, you write the definitions, and maybe on the other side, you put an illustration or a picture. That's kind of how I would create my flashcards. But the cool thing about using flashcards is that you can shuffle them before you study them. So that allows you to make sure that you don't do the words in order. And I always shuffle my flashcards when I'm studying. It actually helps me like do something with my hands, right? And then what I would do is I would actually do this. So I'm going to actually put my video down here so you can see my desk, and I'll show you what I did. So that when you start to study, you start with one pile of words, right? And then as you quiz yourself, you do the same kind of idea that you do with the check mark, negative sign, positive sign system that I explained in the previous video, except you do so by creating piles, right? So you move it from this main pile into a pile of things I did not know, a pile of things I knew. So as you study, you're going to go from each one of those files, right? And then maybe you knew a lot of them, so that's good news, right? And as you study, you keep making that pile bigger. But there's going to be inevitably words that you don't know. And when you first start that pile of things you don't know, it's going to be a lot bigger. But then you take a pause, right, after you've done that, and you know you don't have to worry about these anymore, so you can put them to the side. And now you keep working on this pile, and then you try it again. Oh, I knew this one this time. Oh, did not know that one. I knew that one. I knew that one. Did not know that one. Knew that one. All right. So now you know you're good with these. Take a break. Try again. I still did not know that one. Now I knew that one. Take a break. Try again. Yay, I got this one right. Now you know that your entire pile is at check mark status because you know that you know. You go back, put them away, shuffle them. The next day, you do the whole thing again to make sure that you still know them. If you still know them, you promote them to a pile of like, I got this, don't have to worry about this anymore. If you don't know them, you return them to the negative pile. And just like you do with the Cornell note taking system, they can't be promoted from negative to checkmark level in the same study session. They can go to negative to positive, but you have to take a break or hopefully wait some days between before you try to look at it again and promote from positive to checkmark. And that's the best way to do it. Now, when I used to be in school doing this, um, I used to have like flashcards in my pockets at all times. I know, I was such a nerd. And then I used to like have one pocket that was my positive pocket, one pocket that was my negative pocket, and then my back pocket was where I would pull the cards from. So I would pull it from a back pocket. I look at it, it's like, oh, I don't know this one. I will put it on the negative pocket, right? And then I would just keep studying throughout the day. I was doing this when I was studying for SAT words, when I had a big test and I wanted to remember concepts. Love flashcards. What I love about them is there's something hands-on about them that's kind of really cool. And another thing I like about them is that you can shuffle them, right? And then instead of having notes, you have these little piles of flashcards that you put in a little archive somewhere. Uh, and keep them to study if you need to review them again for a final or a midterm or something like that. Great study skill. Lots of videos on how to do this well on the internet. I have some of those videos linked in my resources. People that actually even probably do a better job than me explaining how to do it. But I hope you use this. The last thought I have with this is, again, remember, you can do this with the Cornell notes. You can do this with a study list of key terms. You can do this with a study guide. Uh, and you can do it with flashcards. One thing I did like when I was back in school about study guides or key term lists is that you can have your list of key terms in one paper, right? And you can leave that paper somewhere. And then you can have your answers on another sheet of paper, right? Far away. Just bear with me. So I used to have a list of words that I need to ask myself in one place, and somewhere else in the house, I used to have my answer key. Why did I do that? Because I like to move, right? I like to be up and about, and it was more exciting to study that way. So again, big nerd, but I got good grades, right? So what I used to do is walk back and forth in the house when I was studying, if it was really hard. Why did I do that? Besides the wanting to move around, which helps your brain actually, it's that it's really annoying actually to have to keep going back and forth to check the words, the question, and then go see the answer. And so I reserve this for the stage at which I was really having problem with a few concepts. I would do these concepts, this method, because if I did it this way, uh, I was forced to walk back and forth. It was kind of like motivating me to really learn the word, so I would stop walking back and forth. At one point, I joined a soccer team, and I even used to do suicide runs, right? Where when I would tap one side of the run, I would have to look at the word. By the time I got to the other side, I would have to tell myself what the right answer was. And you try to get the right answer while you're working out at the same time. That's when you know you know. There's all kinds of creative ways that you can self quiz. And I would be remiss not to mention that you can always study with a friend, which can be very motivating. Someone asks you the questions and to check that if you actually know, and then you can ask them some questions in return. Maybe you reward each other if you actually do well, and go do something fun together afterwards. It can be a lot of fun. It can be very distracting too if you don't focus on study, but studying with a buddy can be very, very motivating as well. So whether you use a study list that you check off and has the answers on another place, or Cornell notes that you fold or flip back and forth, or flashcards that you use the way I showed you in this video, uh, whatever method you use, you gotta have a method to self quiz so that you know before you get to the test that you actually know. I hope you found this helpful.